You're listening to the 49 Carats Podcast, a 49ers Goldmine production with Stephanie Sanchez.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the 49 Carats Podcast. I'm your host, Steph, going live solo dolo today. It's May 23rd, but I had to go live solo today because it was the first day, the second day of OTAs and the first day that was open to the media. So we finally got a first look at Sam Darnold throwing footballs in a 49ers uniform, Trey Lance's new throwing motion, plus Kyle Shanahan and all the three top quarterbacks on this team spoke with the media today. There's a lot to unpack from the day and, just some of the things that were said in these pressers. So first, let's talk about Brock Purdy because let's face it, he is a thumbnail for this video. After all, the episode is named for him. So let's go with Purdy first. Brock Purdy, the presumed QB1 for this team, leader of the clubhouse. He is still progressing through his rehab. Kyle Shanahan said that Brock Purdy will resume throwing next week. Now, when he originally had his surgery, the expectation was that he'd be throwing 12 weeks post-surgery. And so with him being able to start throwing sometime next week, as Kyle Shanahan said, it means he's actually a week ahead of that initial timeline. And that timeline, was already best case scenario. So we are seeing so far a better case scenario in Brock Purdy's recovery from his UCL repair surgery. I think that's really great news. And, I think it's also kind of funny to think that there's a possibility, just maybe, that Brock Purdy could be ready week one, in which case it would make all of this arguing over the quarterback position, over Darnold, over Lance, that much funnier. I mean, what are we even doing here, man? Brock Purdy can start week one, according to Kyle Shanahan. I mean, he's left the door open for a week one Brock Purdy return. He said, we're hoping for week one. And he sounded really optimistic that Brock would be not only available for week one, but clearly if you can play week one, it means that you would be able to practice in full before then to be able to, be ready. He's not just going to throw him to the wolves in week one without barely any practice. So Kyle Shanahan said he thinks there's a chance that, Brock Purdy could be ready before week one. That way he gets time to ramp up in practice and make his return for week one. Wouldn't that be something? I mean, after all this talk, again, about the quarterback position and, freaking out over, again, Darnold, Lance, like, if Brock Purdy is the quarterback week one, like, honestly, hell yeah. Like, let's go for it. I don't know if I can stand another month or so wondering, okay, if Brock doesn't start, who's going to be the quarterback? Is going to be Darnold or Lance? I really rather not have to deal with that stress and that curiosity. So obviously Brock Purdy being ready week one would be the best case scenario for this team. And as Kyle Shanahan said, they don't have any reason to think otherwise right now. That's awesome news. But again, would be just kind of funny. East Coast Red and Gold podcast. Make sure you subscribe to them. Great channel. They actually had Randy Cross on their channel not too long ago. Great show. It says, hey, Steph, pretty great news today, but still one day at a time. Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that because, I mean, I think it's okay for, Shanahan to say that he's optimistic and kind of have a date in mind, week one in mind. But for Brock Purdy, I much rather him not put that kind of pressure on himself. And that's exactly what he did, not put pressure on himself, because Brock Purdy also spoke with the media today. And of course, he went after Kyle Shanahan, so he was asked about his recovery, to which, Purdy was reluctant to set anything in stone or be as optimistic as Kyle Shanahan, right? And Purdy just said that he's taking it one day at a time, and that's all you can hope for, right? You don't want Purdy putting more pressure on himself than he needs to. I mean, the process of rehabbing from an injury, I think, is enough on his plate already, before even thinking about week 1, right? So it's fine for us. It's fine for Kyle Shanahan and everyone else to maybe have, week 1 in mind or circled or whatnot. But I'm glad that Brock Purdy is taking it one day at a time. It doesn't feel like, he's taking in any outside pressure and applying it to himself. So that's good. Steve-O Supremo says he needs a chance, they said. They're going to rush Brock back, they said. Yeah, hopefully, I don't think they're rushing Brock back. It seems like Brock on his own is, progressing well and ahead of schedule, at least, about a week ahead of schedule. So that's all good. RJ the Fanatic says, I love that all 3 quarterbacks got to speak. Shout out to the media for asking good questions. I agree. I really liked the fact that we got to hear from all 3 of them because this was something I was curious about. I was like, oh, like which quarterback are they going to make available? Like this might tell us something. They made the right move by having all 3 available to the media. And it was cool because, I think we've heard from Brock Purdy a couple times, this offseason. We've heard from Lance a time or two this offseason. But, this was kind of our first time hearing from Sam Darnold. It's in him speaking to the 49ers media. It might have been the first or second time that, we've heard from him. But nonetheless, I mean, I think it was awesome to, be able to hear from all of those guys on the same day, as well as Kyle Shanahan. So good job, 49ers, on getting that done. Yeah, Steve-O in the comments says press conference went Kyle, Purdy, Sam, and then Trey. Are we now going to start, over analyzing the order in which these quarterbacks went? I hope not. I hope not. I'm just glad that we heard from all of them today. I think that was pretty cool. But, Trey Lance, as we mentioned, he spoke with the media today too. And, much was made of Trey Lance's offseason work with renowned quarterback coach Jeff Christensen. And, we were all curious to see what his, throwing motion was going to look like because, that athletic article really kind of hyped it up a little bit as, Lance has done a lot of work on this, so we're all curious to see what it looked like. I'm not going to pretend that I know anything about throwing mechanics and what it should look like, what it looks like when it's bad, I guess. But as videos started to trickle in, and as I did start to see some videos of, Trey Lance throwing, and I'll share some here. So this was one of the first ones I saw. Grant Cohn posted this one, and it's in slow motion. So, you get the full effect of what his throwing motion looks like here. But basically, as I was seeing this, I thought to myself, well, I'm going to do some comparative analysis myself and look at some throws from 2021. I wanted to see if I could find some from 2022, but I couldn't. So 2021 was the year that I found. And I pretty much put those back to back, and I will share that as well. 1 second. Because I did this little clip to just have, I guess, a frame of reference, right, to like both of these throws. So let me start it from the top, and I slowed these videos down the same amount. So one is not, faster than the other. So that's 2021. And, you can see 2023, same drill. Okay. So I think it's easier to compare, and I try to get the same like angle as well. Just again, so it's easier to compare. And so just some of the things that I saw between these two clips, because again, it's much easier to see the differences when you see them like back to back or side by side than if someone like showed you the video and was like, hey, does this look different? What do you see? Like, I don't know. But see them back to back, I think you could see a couple of things. The base is slightly wider in 2023, his new motion slightly wider. I mean, Kyle Shanahan has alluded to this as well. He's mentioned this. He mentioned it again today because I believe Shanahan was asked today about, some of the differences that he saw in his motion. He has better bend in his front leg, which, wasn't so much the case before. And I know Grant Cohn has mentioned that quite a bit in the past. And I think this is why his throws required so much arm strength, and probably why he suffered from like arm fatigue, because, he's not leveraging his base or driving through his legs as much. And again, I'm not going to pretend I know what I'm talking about, but to me, like, it kind of looks like the actual arm movement itself is not as large a wind up as it was before. Before, it was like his arm was going like all the way back and then forward and around. It was just it was a long arm motion. I think like those are the things that, with help of others pointing out, once you start looking at them side by side, you go, oh yeah, like I can kind of, I see those differences now. So the question now becomes, will the throwing motion, this new throwing motion, will it translate to, in a game? Will it translate to like on-field play? I think that's the question that we have now. It looks good. It looks great for now, but I think there's more than just this, right? It's almost like saying that Sam Darnold is the best thrower of the football. There's more to quarterbacking than just being a good thrower of the football, right? There's more to quarterbacking than just having a good solid mechanics, right? So I think we just got to see the total package. But this is certainly encouraging when it comes to Trey Lance and his potential development on this team and beyond. So yeah, I dig it. And Trey, like I said, he also spoke with the media after practice today, and he admitted that the finger injury, the fracture that he suffered in 2021, did cause a bit of a domino effect of mechanical issues, including, it impacted his grip on the football as well. But he did say that both the effects of the finger injury and the ankle injury are behind him now. So I think that's great. It's good that he can go into an off season without worrying about an injury or worrying about rehabbing. Like, I think much of his rehab was done in the earlier parts of the off season and last season while he was out. So I think right now he's in a good spot where now he just needs to focus on improving as a quarterback. And one thing he said in his presser was, my opportunity is just to come in and compete, and that's all I wanted. I don't want to take anything away from Brock, and no one should be able to take anything away from Brock. He did what he did last year and deserves all the credit in the world. Once again, I like the fact that he gives props to Brock, because, like, yes, Brock did deserve it. Like, there's nothing you can do about that. Trey Lance, very mature in this situation. And again, he just wants the opportunity to come and compete. And, I think right now he feels like he's getting that shot, right? So he said he's having fun playing football again. And I think that's really great. I think, again, that comes from him not having to, deal with rehabbing, not having to worry about an injury and trying to throw differently because something's bothering him, like, I think that's great that he's having fun playing football again. I feel like that's important. At the end of the day, it's a game. It should be fun, right? So that's good for Lance. And in case you were curious about how, Trey Lance and Sam Darnold split reps and OTAs, Kyle Shanahan did say Lance has been taking all the first team reps the first 2 days of practice. But as Kyle Shanahan explained, the reps will even out as practice progresses. So that could change in the future, where it's more of a 50-50 split. And Sam Darnold, as I mentioned, he did also speak with the media today. Nothing too notable from him. Like, there wasn't anything worth writing about, certainly, but he did say he's still learning the system and, getting acclimated to everything, but that he's having fun, doing that. And, gave a bit of a praise to Shanahan and Brian Greasy. So yeah, that's good for Darnold. And Yeah, I mean, based on what I saw from some of the clips that were posted today, he looked good throwing the football. No surprises there. I don't know why he wouldn't look good throwing the football. So that's good for him. And I know that we're all curious to know what Kyle Shanahan had to say about just the quarterback position as a whole, his quarterback room, right? And here's what he said. Kyle was dropping some bars here. He said, "We have two guys who are talented enough to be taken in the top 5 of the draft, and we have another guy who played like it last year." My coach spinning bars, man. That's a bar right there. I don't know. When he said that, I was like, "Oh, that's kind of nice." Like, did you just come up with that right now? Like that is impressive. Um, and I think that's the truth. That's how they feel about what they have in their quarterback room, and it's the truth. Because like I know a lot of people have been talking about the fact that everyone talks about how everyone's bullish on Sam Darnold because he was a top 3 pick in the draft. Well, so was Trey Lance. And here's Kyle Shanahan pretty much saying that. Like, yeah, we have two guys, Sam Darnold and Trey Lance, who were good enough to be, top 5 picks. And we have another guy who played like a top 5 pick, and Brock Purdy, right? So that's just the truth of what they have in that quarterback room. And I think it's a great situation for this team to be in. And again, Brock Purdy is, the presumed QB1. He's going to continue to be uh, as long as all goes well with his recovery, which so far it seems like it is. So, beyond that, I think there's not too much to worry about with this quarterback room. And as Steve-O says, QB room got better for sure. I definitely agree with him. He says Steve-O said Kyle be sneaky. Gotta watch him. What was he sneaky about? We think he was being sneaky today? I don't know. He did have a funny line where I think he was being asked about Brock Purdy's recovery or when he'd be back, and he said only God knows. Very much similar to his previous line of we don't know if we'll be alive on Sunday or something like that. So yeah, Shanahan back with the quotables, that's my coach, man. That's my coach. But other notes from OTAs, obviously, like the quarterback position was a huge aspect of today and what we were curious about, but there other things happened, right? So Matt Mayoko, he called Isaiah Oliver the most impressive player of the 7-on-7 period, noting that he had several pass breakups. Oliver, of course, as Steve Wilkes said, he was their top nickel corner of this free agency period, and they went out and got him. So he's clearly the front runner for the 49ers starting nickel corner spot. And he's showing well so far in OTAs. Of course, we got to take all of this with a grain of salt because no pads, it's just OTAs. But I mean, this is a good sign, right? Especially because he's a newcomer, he's a free agent signing, and it seems like he's acclimating pretty well to his new team, right? So another thing I just know that you guys were all wondering about the kicker competition, right? Jake Moody, Zane Gonzalez. I mean, hello, why aren't we talking more about this? The battle is starting to heat up. Both of these guys hit from 33 yards, 38 yards, 43, but they both missed from 48 yards. Wah, wah, wah. The plot thickens. And I guess so Matt Mayoko was the one who said that they both hit from those yards but missed from 48. And I think Nick Wagner also mentioned that Moody narrowly missed the one from 48. Apparently Lombardi thinks that Moody didn't miss the one from 48 though. So I don't know. We're already dealing with conflicting reports with this kicker battle. We might need to see a spreadsheet for the kicker battle, the misses and the makes on these field goals. But something to keep an eye on. I'm not too worried about it. Again, it's OTAs. The biggest thing with kickers, man, if they miss, make the next one. Like that's all you got to worry about. you really got to worry if a kicker misses and he'll continue to miss like after that, because now he's in his head. So hopefully, the next day is better for both Moody and Gonzalez, and they can put that, 48-yard miss behind them. But hey, I'm going to keep an eye on this kicker competition, okay? It is getting fierce. Now, another thing, David Lombardi and Nick Wagner, but they both mentioned Braden Willis as someone who made an impressive one-handed catch from Trey Lance during 11-on-11s, and also made a couple of catches in 7-on-7s. Now, if you guys have been listening and or watching, my channel for quite some time this offseason, I like my Braden Willis stock. I've been hyping him up even before the draft and him being a potential Niner. He's such a Niner. And because he got drafted by the Niners, I am like, yes, this is good for my stock and Braden Willis stock. So yeah, this is looking good for Braden Willis. Again, it's OTAs. I don't want to overreact, but he's a rookie. This looks good, right, so far. But we're gonna wait and see what happens the next day. All right. There are only 4 players who are not attending OTAs. Remember, OTAs are completely voluntary. Only 4 players who aren't attending, though. I feel like that's pretty good. Pretty good numbers. The only 4 who aren't: Nick Bosa, who we don't worry about because he comes into training camp looking like a Greek god. I mean, clearly he's doing something right out there in Florida. We're not gonna worry about him. Javon Hargrave, another guy, newcomer. He's a vet. He was one of the best defensive tackles in the league last season. Maybe maybe the best. And again, a guy we're not going to worry about. Trent Williams, not going to worry about him. Deebo Samuel, not going to worry about him too. It looks like he's been working hard this offseason, so not worried about any of these guys missing OTAs. I think they're going to come and back in training camp and they'll be ready to go. But let's get to some of these comments. What's going on, Callie? He said, forget QB controversy. It's kicker controversy. Yes. We got bigger fish to fry. You know what I mean? RJ, I appreciate you so much, man. You've been day one for this channel, and I appreciate the super chat. He says, cheers to celebrate the start of the season and to show our appreciation for all the hard work you put in throughout the year. Keep up the great work, Steph. I really, really appreciate that, RJ. And I will certainly continue to try to put out my best work out there for you guys. But for OTAs, this first day that we got media, news from OTAs, that's pretty much all we got. I mean, but I think we have a lot of video clips to lay back on and watch in the coming days. The team will be back at it Thursday, May 25th. So a couple of days from now. They're off tomorrow. So, hey, man, I will talk to you guys then. In fact, I mentioned it yesterday. I'm trying to get Javi on. I'm going to double check with Javi, see if we're good for tomorrow. I'd love to talk to Javi about this quarterback situation and just like his thoughts, what he thinks. So, hopefully I could get that going tomorrow. But make sure you guys are subscribed. Make sure you guys have notifications on so you always know when I go live. And as East Coast Red and Gold Podcast says, hit that like button. I appreciate it so much, guys. Have a good rest of your Tuesday evening, folks. Peace.